channel. Today's video is going to be a book collection. Now this isn't actually all of my books, it's just the ones that I have in my house. A lot of them are still at my mum's house, but I still have quite a few here, and I just love the smell. Not the smell, well, I do like the smell, but I love the sound of books. I want to start off by saying sorry if there are too many outside noises like cars. I live on a main road pretty much, and as you may notice, there's actually quite a lot of traffic. It's annoying because it's almost 7:30, but it is a Saturday night, so perhaps people are out and about. So I apologise for that, and I hope it's not too distracting. Okay, so as you can see, I've got two piles here. It's a combination of plays, non-fiction and fiction. So in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 books in total, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are plays, and 1, 2, 3 of them are non-fiction. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, let's move these out the way, I think. We're not going to do this in any particular order, we're just going to pull them from the pile and talk about them. So the first one here is called The Vanishing Half by Britt, Bennett. This is a really good book. I really enjoyed this one. The blurb says Stella and Desiree are identical twins growing together in a small southern black community until at age 16 they ran away. Years later, everything about their lives is different. Their families, communities, and racial identities. One sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape, and the other sister secretly passes as white, and her husband knows nothing of her past. Still separated by many miles and just as many lies, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen in the next generation when their own daughters' storylines intersect? So it's a really interesting book, and I read it a while ago, so I won't be able to talk about much detail. But I do remember being sort of obsessed, and it was one of those books I found difficult to put down. The front cover has the two twins in profile. twin is in a deep purple colour with pink behind her, and this twin is in actually a foiled gold, as you can see, and has like a turquoise behind her. The writing is in big bold white letters, and this is what the spine looks like, very much the same. And yeah, the blue and pink and foiled gold carries on to the back too. Is in third person. And jumps between the two perspectives or stories of the twins, and then I think at some point they reunite, but I can't remember exactly. That's the first book. It's definitely a pretty one, but it is doing that annoying thing where the plastic film kind of starts peeling. But I have had this since, I want to say around 2020, so probably around lockdown that I read it. Okay. Next is called Back to the Bonnet by Jennifer Duke, and this book is I'll read you the blurb. Matrimony is not a destiny that attracts plain but clever Miss Mary Bennett. With her family's misfortunes threatened by their own foolish mistakes, deceptive rogues, and the inconvenience of male heirs to her family home, the future looks unstable, even bleak. But Mary possesses a secret weapon, a bonnet that allows her to travel in time. In orchestrating events according to her own inclinations, Mary takes an unconventional route to protect her family from ruin. However, she is unprepared for the dark path down which duty and power will lead her. So the concept of this book is really cool. It's based on the story of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is one of my favourite stories of all time. I have. Now I don't have a copy of it, my sister does. And I read her copy, but I want to get my own one day. And if you're unfamiliar with Pride and Prejudice, basically it's about sisters in Regency era Britain who kind of all need to get married and find husbands so that they will not be destitute. And one of the sisters falls in love quite quickly. And there are two young ones who are a little bit silly and irresponsible. And then the main character sort of says she's only going to marry for love, but that's quite, what's the word? Brave, I suppose, in a society where a lot of people, especially women, have to marry for money. And then there's Mary Bennett, who is probably the kind of least interesting character, potentially, could be argued. But she kind of is not interested in marriage or men, really. She just likes to play a piano. And this book is kind of a concept where Mary Bennett is the kind of driving force of everything that happens in Pride and Prejudice. So Mary Bennett and her magic bonnet make Pride and Prejudice happen. I don't think that makes sense. I don't think I've described it very well. But in the book there's several different scenarios that Mary Bennett realises aren't going to work, or just, she needs to go back in time to fix it, and then when she has fixed it, that's what actually happened in Pride and Prejudice. I don't think I've described that very well, but it's a really interesting concept. I got this book in a charity shop, and the cover is really pretty. It's a kind of teal blue with a I'm forgetting the word. Calligraphy font and a very ornate clock with Roman numerals as the numbers. And I think it's meant to look embroidered, the clock, as well, which kind of is a reference, I suppose, to the bonnet, in the fact that the bonnet will be, if not embroidered, then definitely made of fabric, of course. And the back has embroidered symbols on it, all having some sort of reference to Pride and Prejudice, I feel like, although I'm struggling to make some links, but and the spine looks like that. So just back to the bonnet, Jennifer Duke with this embroidered flower. Very interesting concept, and I enjoyed reading this. I read it maybe about 2 years ago. Okay, so the next book is quite topical at the moment. This is Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West by Gregory Maguire. And obviously this is the book that inspired the musical that has recently been made into a film starring Ariana Grande as Glinda the Good Witch and Cynthia Erivo as the Wicked Witch of the West, or Elphaba. And I read this book, again, I want to say around 2 years ago, approximately. It's quite browned on the sides, but that's because it's quite old. I got it for, I think, Christmas or birthday many years ago. Probably around 10 years ago I got it, because I was very into musicals and I still am, but yeah. So let's have a look at the Blurb. Fall under the wicked spell. When Dorothy triumphed over the Wicked Witch of the West in the classic novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, we heard only one side of the story. But what of her arch nemesis, the mysterious witch? Long before Dorothy drops in, a girl is born in Oz with emerald green skin. Elphaba, who will grow up to become the infamous witch, is a smart, prickly, and misunderstood creature who challenges all our preconceived ideas about the nature of good and evil. Taking readers past the yellow brick road and into the oh dear, hold on, I'm not the best reader. I think I have dyslexia, so that word's scaring me. Phantasmagoric world. Gregory Maguire's novel is a rich and triumphant feat of imagination and allegory. It is an acclaimed New York Times bestseller and the inspiration for a hit Broadway musical and now a film, and has sold over 2 million copies. That's a lot of copies. Let's see when the publication for this edition is. If it says. It should do somewhere. Here we go. Originally 1995, and this edition was 2006, but I didn't get it in 2006. I don't know. So, yes, as you can see, the cover is the iconic poster for the musical, because obviously that's very iconic and eye-catching. So that's the cover. We've got Elphaba and Glinda, and then on the spine we've got again Wicked here in sort of, it looks like metal, silver. Gregory Maguire, and Elphaba's up here as well, and on the back it's just kind of green smoke or mist. So the book is very long. As you can see, it's quite thick. It's one of my longest books, and it's 495 pages. I'd like to reread it actually, but I've got so many books that I need to read that I should probably read them first. So that's that one. Now, I actually haven't read all of the books in my collection, and this is one of them. This is Ian McEwan on Chesil Beach. Now, I studied an Ian McEwan book in English at A-level. I did English literature, and a fun fact about me doing English is that I never read an entire book throughout the entirety of my English A-level, which is not good. I would not recommend that. I would recommend partaking in your studies fully, but I'm a slow reader. So for me, reading entire books is not easy, and when you've got to do it in a certain amount of time to be able to revise and do an exam on it or write some coursework on it, I just used Spark Notes. I'm trying to remember the Ian McEwan book we did in school, and I'm going to kick myself because it's a pretty famous book, but the name is not coming to my head right now. this is on Chesil Beach, which I believe is also a movie that I want to watch. And it's actually quite thin, this one, especially when you compare it to Wicked. The blurb says it's July 1962. Edward and Florence, young innocents married that morning, arrive at a hotel on the Dorset coast. At dinner, in their rooms, they struggle to suppress their private fears of the wedding night to come. I actually think I have watched the film. For some reason, reading that blurb makes me... it kind of rings a bell. So, it's likely that I've already watched the movie of this, but I still want to read it. The reason I bought this book is because I was in a charity shop a few months ago, and they had a minimum spend on their card machines, which was, I think, £3. And I was only going to buy some coat hangers. Quite random, I know. And they were £2. So I also went to the book section and got a book that I thought I would want to read for £1 to make it up to £3. The cover of this one is obviously Ian McEwan in red foil, quite Christmassy looking, with On Chesil Beach and a review down at the bottom, and the image is of a lady, most likely Florence, I would assume, running along, again I assume to be Chesil Beach, and it's kind of, I would guess that that's dusk and it's going dark. The image actually carries around all the way around the book, which I quite like. But yeah, that is that one. Okay, this book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Now I have read this one, again I think I read it around lockdown, around the same time as the Britt Bennett one, The Vanishing of. And this also has recently, or sort of recently, been made into a film with, oh dear, what's her name? I've completely forgotten. She was in Normal People. You know who I mean. You know who I mean. So this was one of those kind of viral books over sort of lockdown time, and I bought into the hype, and I did like it. I thought it was a good book. I like the murder mystery kind of aspect to it. Let's read the blurb. For years, rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town in the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when the handsome Chase Andrews was found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved. When two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life, until the unthinkable happens. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, and I liked the movie. I liked the murder mystery, and I thought the kind of descriptions of North Carolina were very nice as someone who has never been to America and has never been to North Carolina. It's always nice when you can dive into a book and get taken to a different place. I also do really like the cover. It's a beautiful pink sunset with some trees and marsh sort of landscape, and Kaya in her kayak. Sorry, that was silly. Kind of boating along, going out towards a more open bit of water by the looks of it, and it carries around again to the back, and I think the colours are really pretty. Yeah, that's a very good way of describing it. A murder mystery, a coming of age narrative, and a celebration of nature all in one. I definitely would agree with that. Okay, this is another book that I feel like had a lot of hype a few years ago. I got this one also in a charity shop. First of all, I just really love the cover of it. I have no idea what this is about. No idea. You know what? I've never even read the blurb, so this is the first time we're going to read the blurb. I just got it because my friend read it and she said it was really good, and I saw it in a charity shop and decided to pick it up. So the cover is obviously some burnt matches in the shape of a house, with Eleanor, Oliphant is completely fine by Gail, Honeyman, and the stars that surround it, and the name, and some of this detail up top is all in foil. I'm a big fan of foil on the covers of books. You know, or foil effect. I don't really know if foil is the right word, but you know what I mean. So shall we read the blurb together? Eleanor Oliphant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. Wow, actually that sounds really good. I read a book called Maid on my Kindle, and for some reason I'm getting similar vibes because the main character in that also has sort of a set routine and does the same things every day, and I like that. The next book is called Behind the Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I'll be honest, I don't massively remember why I have this. I think I got it in a charity shop. Shall we read the read the blurb. Oh, it was £1. Okay. He has looks and wealth. She has charm and elegance. 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 You might not want to like them, but you do. You'd like to get to know Grace better, but it's difficult because you realise they are never apart. Some might call this true love. Others might ask why Grace never answers the phone or can't meet for lunch without Jack, and why there are bars on the bedroom windows. What? That sounds so scary. So we've got Jack here, his handsome, dedicated lawyer and loving husband, and Grace is elegant, consummate housewife and prisoner. Oh my goodness. So that sounds intriguing, and I forgot I had this book, so that sounds good. I like this description here. This psychological Hitchcock type thriller will keep haunting you. I love Hitchcock, my goodness, sorry I said that wrong. Hitchcock type thriller. Hitchcock. Oh dear. I like Hitchcock films. My favourite being Rear Window, so I'm intrigued. So the cover is obviously just an image of a door with a lock that seems to be glowing. Can you see that? And big red writing here, which could potentially symbolise blood or fear. And then we've also got another glowing keyhole on the spine here, so I wonder what symbolism that means. So yeah. That sounds very interesting. The next book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I finished this book a few months ago, and this was another book that was very much hyped up online. It has a lot of, Amazon reviews, and people on TikTok talk about it a lot. And I decided to treat myself to it because it was on sale for about £5. And we'll just read the blurb. Reclusive Hollywood icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell her truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant to write her story, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. From making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to leaving show business in the 80s, and of course the 7 husbands along the way, Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. But as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. So when I was reading this, I thought, well, yes, it's a good book. I'm enjoying it, but I was sort of like, do I think it deserves the hype that it got? Not really. I thought it was very overrated, but probably around the last quarter of it, the last couple of 100 pages or whatever. I got it. I understood the hype. I could not put it down. I stayed up until like 10 or 11 p.m. reading this book, the last part of the book, because I could not believe it. I cried, I gasped, I put my hand over my mouth in like shock. And I just could not believe it. It was so good. The ending of the book was better than the majority of the book, but obviously to get to the ending you've got to read the whole thing. So the cover is Evelyn Hugo in her iconic green dress and her beautiful pearls and lipstick and gold curls. And she stood in front of a big window with palm trees, so you can assume that that's Hollywood behind her. And then she's also on the back, but this is her looking out the window. And this is the spine, it's pretty basic, just the name and all that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this one. Okay, now this is absolutely, easily the biggest book I own. Are you ready? It's so heavy. Okay, look at the size of this book. I mean, it's huge. It's so heavy. So this is Les Miserables, or Les Mis, or Les Miserables. I'm joking. By Victor Hugo. So this is another book that was adapted into a musical, a stage musical that was then adapted into a film and also a BBC TV series adaptation as well. I remember watching the movie with Hugh Jackman and Amanda Seyfried, Eddie Redmayne and so on. I watched that in the cinema when it came out and I was obsessed. And I've actually also watched this version as well, with Lily Collins as Fantine. But I've never read the book, and I won't lie, it intimidates me quite a lot. Look how big it is. Let's see how many pages it is. Oh my gosh, I had a glimpse. $1,304 pages. What the heck? I fear that this might take me about 3 years to read. That's crazy. It's so heavy as well. I feel like potentially it kind of makes more sense to get it on a Kindle, because just holding this up is difficult. So maybe I will do that, to be honest. I got this in a charity shop for £1, And I won't lie to you, I'm not a big fan of when they put film covers or TV show covers on books. I would much rather have a more original or traditional looking book. I understand why they do it, but I don't like it. To be honest, I don't really know many people who do. Books sound so nice. Oh look, it's got more of the cast on the side. Cassette and oh my gosh, my memory today. What's his face? Eddie Redmayne, but not Eddie Redmayne. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. Madame and Monsieur Thénardier. Oh, I love Olivia Colman so much. I haven't read you the blurb, but let's quickly do that. It is nothing to die. It is dreadful not to live. Les Miserables is Victor Hugo's classic tale of injustice, heroism and love, following the fortunes of Jean Valjean, an escaped convict determined to put his criminal past behind him. Those attempts are constantly put under threat by his own conscience and the relentless investigations of the dogged, I think that's how you say that word, policeman Javert. Set against the epic backdrop of civil unrest in France, and with striking intensity and contemporary resonance, Hugo's novel explores the struggles and triumphs of the underclass and the quest for a better life. What's crazy is that this book is $8.99 and it's humongous, and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo I think was $9.99, and it's like half the size. Obviously I didn't pay $8.99 or $9.99 for either book because I find books to be very expensive. I find it hard to buy them full price. Okay, let's move on. Let's take a break and look at some plays. So I think most of these plays I have either been in or have seen. So this is Sophocles by no it's not. This is Electra by Sophocles, in a version by Frank McGuinness. So it's sort of been re-looked at by Frank McGuinness because Sophocles obviously was a Greek writer or playwright. Sometimes old and ancient plays get rewritten to just be better for modern audiences, I suppose. A quick kind of glance, you can see a lot of my notes and my scribbles in there because I was in this play in my first year of uni. And yeah, kind of crazy. Let's bring back a lot of memories. So in our version of it, we kind of split the role of Electra up to about 7 of us, I believe, and we split the play up into different scenes. And my scene was when Electra's brother returns. Here we go. Returns from war, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, the next one is Constellations by Nick Payne. This is a play completely with just 2 people or 2 characters called Marianne and Roland. I also did this one in my first year of uni, and it kind of is about 2 characters, Marianne and Roland, and we kind of follow their different stories across several kind of parallel universes. So in one parallel universe they meet and get married, in one parallel universe they meet and don't get married, in one they, I think, maybe are a one night stand, in one, I don't know, like it's about these 2 characters and what their lives might be like in several different parallel universes. You can see that plays are a lot smaller than books. The next one is called Remote by Steph Smith, and this one I did in secondary school as part of the National Theatre Connections Festival in 2015. It's basically about the Connections Festival is kind of, in short, a festival where several youth theatre companies or schools do a version of a play from a list of 10 new plays written that year for the festival. And it's sort of a competition, but it isn't really a competition, but you kind of do get to win the chance to perform in London on the Olivier stage in the National Theatre. And this is, I did it twice, and this is the second one I did. And I believe that this copy I didn't have when I did it in school, but I bought it when I went to London one time, and we went to the National Theatre shop, and we found it in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to buy it. I'm honestly not sure why it has these in there, because I didn't use this. Maybe I highlighted it for a reason, for a monologue or something, but that's that one. And the last one is Blue Stockings by Jessica Swale. This was a play I did in my 3rd year of uni. It actually was my final year show, and I absolutely loved this play. It's basically, I'll quickly read this. 1896, Girton College, Cambridge, the first college in Britain to admit women. The Girton girls study ferociously and match their male peers grade for grade, yet when the men graduate, the women leave with nothing but the stigma of being a blue stocking, and unnatural, educated women. They are denied degrees and go home unqualified and unmarriageable, which is insane, you guys. But this play is amazing. As you can see, there are a few pink lines in it, which are my lines that I had. And this also has scribbles and notes in it too. I had the best time ever working on this show, and we had these amazing costumes that we hired from a costume shop, and were so cool. Maybe one day I'll do a video about every play I've been in or something, because that would be quite fun. I had a list at one point. Oh my gosh, I've just remembered about that. Okay. So that's that. They're all the plays now, so we'll move the plays away and we'll try and finish the books. I'm getting so annoyed by loud cars and motorbikes. I just wish people had quiet cars. It's so annoying. Okay, this is the next book. It's called The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. I think I said that right. I apologise if I haven't. This is actually the book I'm currently reading. As you can see, it's got a bookmark in it. The bookmark is Paddington. I love Paddington, he's so cute. This is a really enjoyable book. I'll read you the blurb. In the summer of 1956, Stevens, the aging butler of Darlington Hall, embarks on a leisurely holiday that will take him deep into the countryside and into his past. I really like this book. In a nutshell, it's about Stevens, the butler, going on a trip in a car, just driving, and he talks a lot about his experience as a butler, and he also talks about what he's experiencing on his travels. The cover is an amazing bright yellow colour with the title, and it's actually, I don't know if you can tell, but raised slightly. Same with his name. And it's got I feel like maybe this is a watercolour of a silhouette of a man who I suppose must be Stevens. And the author is actually the winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, which is pretty cool, pretty big acclaim. My sister actually got this one for me for my birthday this year, so I'm very grateful because it's a very good book. And I feel like books are such a nice gift. At least I think so. And he's written several other books, so I think I will definitely be checking them out at some point. This one was also a gift from my in-laws. This is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens. The cover of this is really nice. It's a chandelier printed over and over and over. And obviously this is quite a classic. I've never read a Charles Dickens in full before, so I'm very much intrigued to read this. Great Expectations. Dickens' funny, frightening and tender portrayal of the orphan Pip's journey to self-discovery is one of his best-loved works. showing how a young man's life is transformed by a mysterious series of events, an encounter with an escaped prisoner, a visit to a black-hearted old woman and a beautiful girl, a fortune from a secret donor. I think I've read that strangely. Dickens's late novel is a masterpiece of psychological and moral truth, and Pip among his greatest creations. Yeah, I'm wondering whether I've watched either a film or a TV show version of this, but I'm not 100% sure if I have. But one fun fact about me is I love period dramas and period pieces. I'm very into history and in particular historical fashion. So it strikes me as the type of thing that I would have watched. However, I'm not actually altogether too sure. I like the cover, and I think this might be one of my newest and most well looked after books. I suppose probably because I haven't read it yet, so it's not had the wear and tear of a read book. Next up is The Monogram Murders by Sophie Hannah. It's a Poirot book, obviously about Poirot, the investigator, but a new story written by Sophie Hannah called The Monogram Murders. And Poirot is obviously a creation by Agatha Christie. That's why her name's up there, I think. I guess. So this front cover shows a door with the handles that look like Poirot's moustache, which is quite a fun detail. And 3 suitcases. And this story takes place in a hotel. Hercule, I don't know how you say that, I'm really sorry. Hercule Poirot's quiet supper is interrupted when a young woman confides to him that she is about to be murdered. She is terrified, but begs Poirot not to find and punish her killer. Once she is dead, she insists justice will have been done. Later that night, Poirot learns that 3 guests at the fashionable Bloxham Hotel have been murdered. A cufflink placed in each one's mouth. While Poirot struggles to connect the bizarre pieces of the puzzle, the murderer prepares a hotel bedroom for a 4th victim. So, it's a murder mystery, of course, and I personally really enjoy murder mysteries. That it's sort of set in the 1920s or 30s, I believe. Again, I love a period piece and things set in the past. And in terms of my personal opinion, I did enjoy it. And I believe I didn't really guess the outcome. So that's always good when you can't guess what's going to happen in a murder mystery. But I know that some people enjoy to solve the murder. But I think I prefer just letting it unfold and learning when the characters learn. Okay, we're not far off being done. So the next book is called Woman Eating by Claire Coda. This is another charity shop find, and I pretty much bought it because I liked the look of the front cover, which I know you should never judge a book by its cover. But I did, because I thought I liked the look of it. I liked the big statement writing and the yellow and blue, and was intrigued by this apple. And this one's quite an interesting concept, so let me read it to you. Lydia is hungry. She's always